Welcome to the Piece of Me podcast, the place to find different ways to bring enjoyment, simplicity, happiness, and of course, more peace into your life. Life gets busy, noisy, and at times it's messy. I'm here to help you clean things up and put peace back in its place. Each episode, I'll share tips, ideas, and fresh perspectives to help you live your best life. Hi friends, it's Lexi Lee. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. I'm so glad that you'll be joining me for an interesting topic that I'm calling Screw the Shoulds. Yes, screw the shoulds. So what I mean by that is that there are a lot of things out there that we quote unquote should do. We hear it from people who have good intentions to give us advice or guidance. We hear it in everything that we do, that we should do this, we should do that. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to just kind of throw some of that stuff out the window and why. So talking about the whole idea of shoulds, and this is something that I don't know if you've ever found yourself in this situation, but maybe now that we're talking about it, you might. But if you've ever talked to somebody about a situation that you found yourself in, or a problem, maybe something's going on at work, something is going on with a friend of yours, you're just in a situation, and you turn to somebody that you respect, or maybe are looking for advice from, and that person tells you something that they think that you should do. And the way that they say it is, well, I think you should do this, or you should do that, or you should say this, or you should say that, or you should go back in there and you should have handled it this way, or next time you should do this. See where I'm going with this? So the reason that we want to take some of these shoulds and just kind of throw them out the window is because the word should has a weight to it. It does. And every time we hear the word should, it has a little bit more weight. So the more shoulds, they're really adding on to each other. And the word should, because it has a weight to it, is kind of like a directive, but it's kind of like a softer directive because it's telling you what to do without not quite coming out and saying what you should do. Do you see what I mean? Okay, hopefully you're still with me. So when a friend says to you, when you're in a situation, this is what you should do, they're giving you their best advice. They have wonderful intention for you. They want to see you get through that situation. But let's also take this a step further. If you do not take the advice or the guidance of the person you've shared your situation with, right? So you've told this person a situation you're in, they say, well, this is what you should do. And if you don't do that, if you do something different than that, then the next time you talk to that person, chances are they're going to want an update. Hey, whatever happened with that thing that we talked about? Hey, whatever happened with that problem? Whatever happened with that situation? Now, if you didn't do what that person thinks you should do, have you ever found yourself explaining why you didn't do what they think you should do? Or defending why you did something different than what they think you should do? So now you're spending time and energy explaining why you didn't do what someone else thinks you should do because you're doing what's best for you. A lot of words going on here. I hope you're following along. I'm trying to keep myself from tripping up. So the reason we're talking about this is because we hear the word should in our day-to-day life all the time. It comes from a good place. It comes from a good intention, but there's a meaning behind it that's a soft directive. And like I've said, that when we keep hearing, well, you should, it feels like someone's telling you what to do, doesn't it? I mean, it really is. Again, it's coming from a good place. I'm sure of it. But how do we take that word and take the weight off of our shoulders? How do we take it where it doesn't feel like a directive? How do we make this feel like it's not as heavy as it is? So that's where I have a little tip for you. And I hope that this will kind of shift the perspective and kind of really change this conversation. This also applies to, again, you might hear those things like, you should get 10,000 steps a day. You should drink X amount of ounces of water a day. You should eat X amount of grams of protein a day or whatever, right? There's just all these shoulds out there. You should do this. You shouldn't do that. So here's one little tip that can completely change this conversation. Anytime that you're talking to somebody, it could be a friend, a loved one, a coworker, a partner, and again, they're coming from a good place, well-intentioned. They're trying to guide you and offer you the best advice that they see fit for the situation you're sharing with them. But every time someone uses the word should, you should do this, you should do that, I want you to, in your own mind, switch the word from should to could. From should to could. What that will do instantly is change what feels like a directive to an option, to a possibility, to opportunity. So now you're talking to that same friend. And instead of them saying, well, you should do this, or you should say that, or you should go back in there and confront that person, or you should say no to that situation, or whatever. Switch the word should to the word could. Well, you could say this to that person. You could go back in there and handle it this way. So that word could makes us feel like we have options. It's a possible solution to what we're talking to somebody about. And it also gives us that chance to make our own choice, that chance to process what's going on with us, evaluate and decide for ourselves what's the best solution. Because again, everyone around us, I'm sure, has very good intentions, but we need to make those own decisions ourselves. So instead of having to defend or explain ourselves down the road why we didn't do what someone else thinks we should do, because that happens, right? So instead of doing that, this way, we have options. Now, I get that this is happening in your own mind, right? This is the conversation as it's taking place. You are the one in your mind switching the word should to could to feel like you now have options. Well, I could say that. I could handle it that way. Because again, if you share this situation with even 5 different people, chances are you're going to have 5 different people, 5 people are going to tell you 5 different solutions. So again, if you switch it to could, now you have 5 options of what you could do in that situation should you have shared that with 5 different people. So hopefully that's like a little mindset shift of like how to switch the should to the could. Okay, but what that leads us to is that's what we're doing on our end, right? That's not something we're saying out loud. And again, we're still having this conversation with people who are coming from a very kind place. They want what's best for us. So how do we kind of take our power back so that if this person is saying to us, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, this is how you should handle it, this is what you should say, blah, blah, blah. How do we get that power back? Because again, we don't want to find ourselves where we have to explain or defend ourselves down the road for not taking that advice if we don't. What we can do is once that person has shared with us what they think we should do, you can then just say, I really appreciate you thinking of me. I really appreciate your concern for me. I'm going to take what you said and think about it and decide for myself what I think is best. So really what you've just done there is said, I'm acknowledging I've heard what you had to say. I appreciate it. I know it's coming from a place of love and concern, because obviously you're concerned for my well-being or my anything, because you're taking this time to listen and to help me think of a solution. But you're taking your power back because what you're saying is, I'm still going to decide for myself what I think is best for me and what I need to do. So that will help you from, if you decide to go down a different road than what your friend has suggested you do, you're not having to defend yourself down the road as to why you didn't take the same path. So again, you can say, thank you so much for thinking of me, or thank you so much for sharing your concern. Thank you so much for that solution. Thank you so much for that suggestion. I'm going to think this over a little bit more and I'll do what I think is right. Or then I'll decide what's best. Or in time, I'll realize what's the best solution for me. So I hope this conversation today has helped you, or at least given you a little bit of a mindset shift. Because again, that word should does carry a weight to it. And the more and more we hear it, it feels like it's something we have to do. Or if we don't, we have to explain ourselves down the road. And that's something we don't want to do. We want to have more peace in our life, more option, more opportunity, and not feel like we have to explain ourselves, right? So in your head, switch that word should to could. It will make the entire conversation feel so much lighter and also make you feel like you have options. And options can be a beautiful thing, especially when it comes to, trying to find what's best for your situation. So again, I hope this conversation has helped, and try doing that and let me know in the comments below if it's worked for you, and hopefully it'll help you get your power back too. So screw the shoulds, you just follow your own path, you do what's best for you, and try that little tip, and I hope that it helps. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon. Thanks again for joining me today. If this episode has helped you or can help someone you know, please share it with them. Stay safe, and we'll chat again soon.